So here I am sitting in my office on a snowy day in January, planning a trip to the Tetons this summer. We're going to be taking a 4-day, 3-night backpack trip. It'll be about 30 miles, and it's time to start getting ready for that. So here's what the schedule is going to look like. Day one, I'm going to fly into Jackson Hole. I'm going to pick up groceries at Albertsons in Jackson Hole. I'm going to pick up propane and bear spray at the Teton Backcountry Rentals. And then I'm going to check into the Coulter Bay Tent Village for the night. Day two, I'm going to pick up my fellow backpackers from the airport, and we're going to go right to the trailhead. We're going to hike in Granite Canyon about 4 or 5 miles, and then spend the night at the lower Granite camping zone. The next day, so day three, we're going to hike from there to the Death Canyon Shelf. That's about 8 miles. From there, we're going to hike about 6 miles to the Alaska Basin. And then on day five, we're going to hike from the Alaska Basin back to the car. That's a big day. That's 13 miles. That's all downhill, so it's doable because it's downhill. And then day six, we're gonna fly home. So here's what I've done so far for planning. So one, I'm going to plan the route. I've looked at AllTrails Plus. AllTrails Plus is a great tool. It costs $36 a year. It's pretty cheap. And from there, I can look up other trails that other people have done and see if that's what I want to do. We wound up planning our own trails, so I used the feature where you can draw your own map. So if you go to the saved menu pick, and then you go to create a map and then start plotting a trail, and then you can see the elevation profile and distances. Two, identify which backcountry camping zones we want to stay in. We can find this on the National Park Service site or recreation.gov. You can't just camp anywhere. The zones are pretty big, so they afford a lot of options. So to find a map for camping zones, you can do that in one of two ways. You can search for Grand Teton National Park backcountry camping permits on the National Park Service site. And on the page that comes up, there will be a link to a map. Or you can go to recreation.gov, search for Grand Teton National Park backcountry permits, and then there's a link there that you can click on, and then you can see these zones. 3, you want to coordinate with your fellow travelers. I would recommend staying away from June. Last year, we did do a trip in June. We couldn't do our full trip because there was too much snow and higher elevations and then the passes. So we had to modify it. So July, August, and September are the popular months, with July and August seeing the most traffic. 4, you want to get backcountry permits on recreation.gov. You can't just walk into the backcountry and pitch your tent in the camping zones. You got to get a permit. So permits this year opened on January 10th at 8 a.m. Mountain Time. First, you want to create an account at recreation.gov before the process opens up, so that you're all set. You put in all your profile information. That smooths things out quite a bit. This year, 2024, the permits cost a base of $20 plus $7 per person. This is a change from last year, so if you're watching this in future years, the price may change again. So you want to go to recreation.gov. You want to search for Grand Teton National Park backcountry permits, and then you want to pick on the screen. You're going to filter, so you're going to pick the mountain camping zones, the dates for the night that you want to camp, and then you're going to set the number of people that will be in your group. And then you're going to filter based on that, pick the day, and then just follow the prompts. Now, they only allow a certain number of permits per camping zone per night, and then they only release a subset of those in advance. And then the rest you have to get at the park, and you can only do that the night before. If you're going to take that route, which we did do last year, we were getting a permit in Death Canyon. I got to the ranger station about 2 hours before it opened. I got in line and then made my reservations then. If you don't get what you want, the rangers are really helpful in helping you to replan. They'll ask you what you're trying to do, what you want to see, and then they'll make recommendations on how to reroute your trip if you can't get the permits that you want. 5, if you're flying, and we will be flying, I've gotten my airline tickets. We're flying into Jackson Hole, JAC, for closer access to the mountains. If you search for just Jackson, an airport in Utah will come up. The prices will be cheaper, but you got to drive further. I'm flying from Pittsburgh to Jackson Hole, and for July, I'm seeing prices that range from $500 to $700. I paid more to get a ticket that I could change later on. It's pretty early in the year. Things can change. The prices obviously will depend on where you're flying from. Remember that you will probably have to check gear onto the plane. You can't take knives and hiking poles carry-on, so you'll probably be, we're going to be checking a bag. Last year, I took 2 bags. I had one bag that had my backpack and hiking poles in it, and then I had another bag that had other miscellaneous things. I brought an extra tent. We weren't quite sure what we were going to do tent-wise, and then I also brought all the food, and there's some other stuff, in case the weather changed. So I wound up taking 2 bags, $30 for the first bag, $40 for the second bag. 6, started a spreadsheet of expenses. We're going to wind up splitting up some of these expenses. So I want to start keeping track of that now. That can kind of get away from you if you wait until after the trip. So start now. Things like food, SUV, overnight stays, backcountry permits, we're going to split those. Other things like airline tickets, we'll take care of those individually. So that's what I've done so far. Next steps will be to rent an SUV because there's 3 or 4 of us. We're going to need the room. Having something with a high wheelbase, depending upon where your trailhead is. Last year we went into Death Canyon. The road up to the trailhead is very rough. You don't want to take something up there with a low wheelbase. Other places like the Jenny Lake Visitor Center, piece of cake. It's all paved there. So know a little bit about where your trailhead's going to be. I still need to reserve a place for once we come out of the backcountry. The night before we're going to fly out, we'll probably do Coulter Bay Tent Village. And then I need to figure out the menu. We've got time to do that, purchase the food. So that's what I've done so far. So can't wait to get to that trail.